Technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of By the Bay. I'm your host, Dan Ancheta, and I am really happy that you are here with me today. It is the end of October, and I am really excited to get through with this year and start thinking about what's happening next year. And today's episode is really focused on real estate professionals, mortgage lenders, people who are in the real estate industry, talking about what you're doing to create your plans for 2024, what you're doing to round out your year in 2023, and really coming to terms with what's going on in the market right now. As we know, rates, as we're sitting here today, are over 8%. The 10-year Treasury is flirting with 5%. These are highs that we haven't seen since the early 2000s, and in some cases with the Treasury looking back into the 90s as the last time that we saw these type of economics. In addition to that, we're seeing incredible pressure in the market because there's still scarce inventory and a high demand for housing. So we have a combination of housing prices going up and interest rates at an all-time high, making affordability at one of the lowest levels that's been recorded. That said, people are still buying houses. People still need our advice, and they still need quality professionals who know how to navigate these types of markets, who have solutions for consumers and home buyers. And also, if you're a mortgage lender out there, your realtor partners need you. They need you right now more than ever. I read yesterday in Housing Wire, which is a industry publication, that over about 100,000 loan officers have exited the business since its peak in 2021. And it's data they can track because we all have to have an NMLS license. That's the National Mortgage Licensing System. And there are about 100,000 less registered licensees currently today. And I suspect that number will go down because the continuing education requirement and licensing is coming due in December. And my guess is that we'll see even more loan officers who are leaving the industry. And this might be an unpopular take, but I think this is one of the best things that's happened to the industry in a long time. There were so many people who got into mortgage banking and mortgage brokering during the pandemic and in the most recent years that didn't take the time to hone their skills and master the craft. They relied heavily on the refi business and the refi boom. They got into the industry because they thought they could make a lot of money, which is totally true. But they were not here for the long haul. They weren't here to build a business and provide advice and to grow and to adjust to the realities of what's going on in today's market. So we're seeing people dropping out left and right. And some of them are dear friends of mine who I care about deeply, but they've gone on to other careers. They've moved on or moved back to things they're doing prior to being in the mortgage world. So if you have weathered the storm thus far, I want to encourage you to continue. I want to encourage you to keep fighting every day for your business and to not stop and to not quit. And I think that if you can get through this next 12 to 18 months, which I keep saying 12 to 18 months, and that just keeps getting kicked out further and further, that there are large rewards waiting for us on the other side of this very hard time in the mortgage industry and real estate industry too. I know lots of realtors right now that are also getting out of the business because they just can't find the deals and the deal flow to make enough money to justify being in the business. So today's episode is about the partnership between a lender and a realtor and how we can help each other and what lenders need to be doing right now to support their real estate referral partners. So first thing I want to start off with is this is really scary. And I know I don't want to trivialize how difficult this market is for some people. I know folks that are dipping into retirement funds, that are leveraging themselves, that are really, really desperately trying to make ends meet. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't done so, take the advice that we give to our clients and create a household budget, understand where your money is coming in and going out, and get small. And I'm hopeful that you didn't buy things that you can no longer afford when the times were good and you were closing a ton of loans. And if you did, it's okay. Forgive yourself and move on from those decisions. Sell what you need to sell, get rid of what you need to get rid of, and right size your expenses to meet your current income. And next time around, don't make that same mistake. Okay. So as a household in your personal life, getting small is what we all need to be doing right now. And that's not to have a scarcity mindset, but it's just to be real that the days of closing 30 or 40 loans in a month for most of us are behind us. There are still some originators out there that are doing that, and hats off to you. But if you are an originator who's seen your volume cut in half or more, I would ask that you right-size your expenses before doing anything else. And from there, having some really hard conversations with your family and your loved ones about what it's going to take for you to get through this next year to 18 months. And that is more time, more dedication, more hard work, more conversations, more borrower consultations, more effort on your part to make a third or less 20% of the income that you did at the peak in 2020, 2021. And that's hard for people to really understand. And I think that a lot of people that I know were thinking, well, I just got to make it through a year, and let's just kind of sit back and just wait. By the fall or spring of 2023 or spring of 2024, the blue sky will be out again, and it's back to party. And I don't think that's happening. I think the data suggests that we are 12 to 18 months away from seeing rates break in our direction, and the refi boom that everyone's been waiting for all these people who have rates in the 7s and 8s and 6s, hopefully, to be refinancing down into the 5s. Like, I think that day does come. I just don't think it's sooner. I think it's later than it is sooner. So we need to adjust our lifestyles and adjust our business practices to be ready for this to be the market where you're closing 2, 3, 4 deals and you're doing great. If you're doing 2, 3, 4 deals consistently a month, you're doing great. And if that's where you're at, keep doing what you're doing and then more, right? And if you're doing 1 or 0 a month, you really need to take some inventory with yourself and ask if you really want to be in this industry, and then go and do the really difficult work of having more conversations, working much, much harder to meet more clients, have more conversations, become influential in your market, become someone who people are desiring to work with, being in demand instead of on demand, if I would like to quote my good friend Todd Duncan. So I would ask you to take that inventory, to do that household budget, and then make your business plan. And that's really where I want to focus on today's episode is, what is your business plan? And I know for me, the business plan was relatively easy to put together for the past few years. It was talk to a bunch of people, do my share of purchase business, and then make hay on the refi. And that was great. It's a pretty easy strategy, is just make sure everyone knows that you're in the mortgage industry and ask them to send their friends and family to you. And that strategy still works. But I think that we need to be more diligent about the way that we are approaching the market and how we are developing our business plan, and making sure that we're proactively working multiple streams or pillars of business. I think number one, everyone needs to have a strategy in mind, in place for their past clients, and making sure you're doing your annual reviews, making sure that you are contacting your clients. And again, I'm going to be quoting a lot of people because this is not my thought, but as Todd Duncan says, if you want to have clients for life, you need to talk to them during their life. And that is really important. Like, you can't just be the lender or the real estate agent who shows up when there's a transaction to be had. You have to show up and be involved in their life and stay relevant in their life. Otherwise, they will forget who you are. And then you're starting your business over every year. And I think I talked about in a prior episode about the difference between being multiple years in the business and reliving year one over and over again. And the difference between those two is how you stay in touch with your past clients and become the lender that works with them for multiple transactions, or working with their children, or working with their friends, or working with their family, and making sure that you build that book of business instead of doing transactions and then having to find new transactions year after year. And I think that's what a lot of us did. And I know personally, when I look back at transactions that I had done 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I haven't done a great job necessarily of following up with those people and being involved in their lives. And it was a bit of a wake-up call when I thought, oh my goodness, look, I bet that there are hundreds of transactions that have happened with my past clients that I was not involved with because I didn't do a good job following up, and I didn't do a good job being involved in their life. And I have to make that choice now. Do I want to continue that pattern and continue that behavior and continue to take steps back in my career? Or am I going to reignite and reconnect with those people and become relevant in their life again for the next round of transactions? I obviously can't go back in time and undo those transactions and be involved in those relationships at a deeper level. But what I can do is make sure that I don't repeat those mistakes moving forward. So number one is have a strategy for your past clients. And number two is having a deliberate plan for developing more realtor partners. There were times in the business where you could have 4 or 5 or 6 partners that were doing 6 or 8 transactions a month, and you're getting half of those, and you put those together, and there's your entire year's worth of business. And I think if you look at the data, most of the realtors out there have also seen large declines in their overall production. And so by definition, we're going to need more partners. We're going to need, the best of the best out there are closing 3 purchases a month, maybe 4, and at least in this market. Probably in other markets where you might be watching this, you might have different numbers. But the best of the best out here aren't closing 10 transactions a month anymore than maybe they were in the past. So as a mortgage professional, you are going to need to have more realtor partners, more referral partners. And the question is, what are you doing to differentiate yourself out of the sea of sameness and being relevant in their lives and crucial to their business, where when they see you call, they're excited to pick up your call, as opposed to saying, oh, great, here's so-and-so calling me again like they do every Tuesday to give me nothing of value and mostly be a nuisance. Like, don't be that lender. Don't be that lender who calls with nothing to add. Be the lender who brings them something of value, a conversation, a way that they can stand out in the market and differentiate themselves to their clients. So what's your strategy to attract more qualified producing real estate partners? There's lots of ways to do that. One that comes to mind is teaching agent classes, and you can either do that on your own, or you reach out to my friend Jeff Zimfer, and he has an entire catalog of pre-made classes that you can use to attract real estate partners. And I'll put a link to Jeff, shout out Jeff, in the show notes here. There's other solutions out there as well. I like Jeff. I think he does a really good job, but definitely check that out. Mortgage Marketing Institute, I believe, is the formal name there. So you need to have a strategy for what you're doing with your realtor partners. Why should they choose you as opposed to someone else who does what you do? Why should they choose you? And I'm going to tell you it's not rate, and it's actually not speed of transaction. We all could do fast loans right now, right? Everyone's got a 14-day or 17-day close or a 10-day close because we have capacity, because there's low volume. So underwriters and doc drawers and funders are looking for stuff to do. So speed is not necessarily the most important thing. It's good to have that, but not necessarily the most important. Rate, everyone's got relatively the same rates. So what makes you different? How are you actually differentiating yourself in the marketplace? And I think one thing you need to consider is how do you personally, as an originator, use your expertise to make your partners better, to help them make more money, to help them win more deals, to help them get into contract more frequently, to help them keep their prospects and keep their clients in their world and not lose them to a competitor? What are you doing to really bolster the realtor's position and helping them navigate this hard time? And if you don't have an answer to that, I think you need to take some time and think hard about who you are and what makes you different than everyone else, and come up with a strategy to communicate that difference to your partners so they know. And if you don't know, hire a coach, hire a branding specialist, hire somebody, reach out to a friend, somebody, talk to somebody, and help figure out what that differentiating value proposition, or whatever you want to call it, like what is your why? How do you address the market in a way that's different than anyone else? And if you don't have that, figure it out, and you need to figure it out soon. Okay. So, so we talked about past clients, referral partners, and I think there's probably 2 or 3 other strategies you need to have. And I don't know, it just depends on your personality. I know some people who are cold calling and door knocking, nothing wrong with those. I know some people buying leads off the internet. That's totally cool. There's thousands of ways to develop business. I think that you need to figure out, in addition to the past clients and realtor referral partners, what other 2 or 3 other niches that you're going to go after, and what's your deliberate strategy to address that market and become relevant to it. So if you're going to be the divorce attorney, referral partner, lender person, that's awesome. Go and get that education and be prepared to have those conversations. But then, like, what's your strategy to find those attorneys and to become relevant to them, to become a trusted resource of theirs? Be deliberate, write it out, script it out. What's your plan? What's the communication plan look like? What are the drop-offs? I don't know, whatever you're going to do to attract and retain those referral partners. Don't just say, I'm going to be the divorce specialist person. Actually have a plan for it. Which attorneys are the most important ones in your market? Who are the top 10? How are you going to address them? Who do you know that knows them? How are you going to get their attention and time? What is the value that you're adding to their world? How do you help them and save them time and make them more efficient with their divorce case file by being the mortgage lender who collects documentation and helps build that package? So there's lots of ways to do that. So what I'm saying is, be specific. That's like that SMART goal thing. How many contacts, by when, what's the volume goal, and then what is the communication plan? And be specific. Write those emails, write those text messages, write those handwritten letters, or whatever you're going to do. Come up with a plan to systematically approach these people, and then be willing to refine it over time. Okay, so you're going to pick those 2 or 3 additional strategies in addition to past clients and realtor partners, and then I think you really need to think about how you are going to confidently express and address the market with a different mindset. And I think that mindset shift has to happen for everyone. I think there's been a lot of fear and a lot of scarcity mindset that we've been addressing our clients with, and I really encourage you to shift that. I think that it's important that we talk about the realities of the market, and that we address the difficulty that's in the market, and not hide those facts and just say, marry the house and date the rate and all this other stuff. Like, I think that's fine, but I think we can do better. And I think that better is saying, let's think critically about our housing solution and be willing to say, now's not the right time, but we know that the right time will come up in the future when this or that happens. And I think that having more realistic conversation with our clients about their housing solution, because that's really what we provide, right? We provide financing, but it's really a housing solution. How do you create a plan for someone who might be scared off by an 8 or 8.5% interest rate, and help them see that it might make sense to buy despite the high rates because of the potential for future competition when rates go down? But they also need to realistically be comfortable with that always being their payment, meaning we don't know that rates are definitely going down. Like, the data suggests that, and the economists and analysts and all these people and smart people that look at all the numbers and the trends and the Fed balance sheet and all that other good stuff, they're projecting that rates go down. Mortgage Bankers Association, National Association of Realtors, they're all projecting that we see rates go down into the 5s in the relative near future. Last data I saw. That doesn't mean that they're right. So the buyer who buys today with a 8% rate needs to be okay with that being the best rate that we see for a long time. So if they're barely scraping by and holding on, that might not be the best time or the right purchase price for them. So let's get them comfortable and help them make that financial decision that we don't know for sure that you can date the rate. Maybe this rate's going to be here for much longer than you anticipate, right? And give them the data and the knowledge and educate them about what the market trends are and help them see that with the increasing cost of rents and lack of housing inventory, that the 8% rate still might be the best solution for them for their financial plan, the plan for their family, and the plan for their housing. Okay? And that might be a little kind of like thinking that that's a little vague, and I would love to be a little bit more specific, but I think the overall concept of taking more time to educate our borrowers on what it is they're signing up for and how you're going to help them manage that debt as they go through into the future. So I got a text message the other day from a past client that said, hey, how will I know when it's time to refinance? And I kind of chuckled to myself and I said, dude, you'll hear from me. I will call you. You're going to hear from me when it's time. You're going to get a message from me saying, now's the time. I told you that the rates are going to go down at some point. That was my belief. Here we are, and here's what the opportunity is. These are the documents I need from you. Let's go. And he's like, oh, great. I didn't realize that I don't have to do anything. I'm like, you don't have to do anything. Just wait. Just give it time. And then I will be in touch when that happens. So I also think that it's really important that we don't give up on the clients that may have used someone else and to continue to provide them with knowledge and education. And I'll tell you why. Like I said earlier, about 100,000 lenders have dropped out of the business in the last year. Since the peak in 2021, roughly 100,000. There's roughly 100,000 less licensed mortgage originators in the NMLS system, which means that there are lots and lots of clients out there whose loan officer no longer is in the industry, which means that when it comes time for them to need that guidance and need the advice and need the support of a qualified professional mortgage advisor, the person who they used in the past is no longer licensed to do that. So how are you building your database and utilizing your CRM system or an Excel spreadsheet or however else you're, managing that? If you have a concierge, like I know some folks are utilizing that, like calling person, how are you gathering the data that you need so that you know who's got the 8% rates, so that when there's a 7% rate or 6.5% rate, that you're the one who's proactively reaching out, even if you didn't originate the original loan. So utilizing a system like HomeBot or one of those other tools is really, really important right now. And I know it's difficult for me that sometimes when I'm very competitive on a deal and I wind up not getting it, it's a shot to the ego and it hurts because you're like, man, I really need these transactions and I'm really working hard to build these relationships and I'm giving you the advice and I'm leading with education and I'm really putting forth all this effort. And then someone still might choose to work with another, lender for a slightly better interest rate, an eighth of a point interest rate or whatever it is. Sometimes these things happen. Or an online lender who's got some type of special deal. You have to get over ourselves. And we have to still follow with that client and congratulate them on their closing date. Add them to your HomeBot because the other lender probably isn't going to do that. And if they do, there's still a lot of people exiting the business. And collect that data and still love on that client because they're going to need you in the future. So play the long game here and collect as much information and data as you can and utilize it in some type of system so that you can be that agent who continues, be that loan officer who continues to show up and give quality advice and leading with the knowledge that you're happy to share. What else to say about this market? I mean, I guess so let's go back to the actual execution of this. Here's what I want you to do if you're a loan officer or a realtor right now is you need to be doing some type of business planning. And so just kind of outline what that plan might look like. But there's plenty of organizations that will be doing business planning towards the end of the year. I know that there's lots of real estate offices who have the manager will lead you through a business planning seminar. If you don't have a professional that is guiding you through the business planning process, I encourage you to reach out to a mortgage professional, someone on the Sequence Mortgage team perhaps, who can connect you with one of our seminars that we do at the end of the year. We'll put on 4, maybe 5 different sessions in all the different areas that we serve, Portland and Kennewick and Washington and the Bay Area, a couple of them here. And we can take you through that process if your current, the real estate shop that you work for or the mortgage company that you work for isn't leading you through that process. I think it's a time for leaders to step up and have more of these hard conversations. And the days of kind of having loose business plans and, I don't know, we'll just kind of see what happens this year, you're not going to make it if that's your plan. So everyone needs to have a plan. And then more important than that is the accountability and the execution. So this year, as we're going through business planning, we're going to use the same kind of structure that we have. Hey, what are the pillars of your business? Let's identify those. Everyone's going to address those pillars a little bit differently. What works for you? Do you want to do, how are you going to address your past clients? How are you going to attract more referral partners? How are you building your network? And everyone's plans are a little different, and that's okay. But the most important thing, what they all have in common is they all need accountability. They all need someone to check in. They need a greatness tracker. They need a weekly must-do list. They need to have that morning ritual. They need to have that mentality of, I have to get these things done every single day. I need to make this number of contacts and have this many of conversations, and this many listing appointments, and this number of pre-approval meetings per day, per week, per month to hit my financial objectives, to hit my goals. And then don't stop until you hit those numbers. And then make the number of calls and make the number of contacts and have those meetings and appointments and add value and take the time to connect with more people to build yourself up to those numbers. So there are still plenty of transactions happening. There are plenty of relationships to win. We just have to come up with a plan for it. So creating that business plan and then buddying up with someone who's going to keep you accountable. And I equate it to like having a gym buddy who's going to meet you at the gym. It's easy to not show up if it's just you because you're the only person who has to excuse yourself. But if you're supposed to meet a friend at the gym and they show up and you don't, they're going to, how upset and embarrassed would you be if you did that, right? I didn't feel like showing up. Well, you're letting your friend down. I think it's easy for people to be okay with like letting themselves down. But what I know is that people feel accountability because they want to avoid hard feelings like feeling shameful or ashamed or feeling embarrassed for not doing something that they committed to. So they'll do it. And so you need to find that accountability person who is going to call you out and hold you accountable, that's going to encourage you, that's going to help you reach or understand your goals, right? You're going to share goals with each other and then hold you to those things. And now is the time to do those type of accountability exercises because it's more difficult today than it was last year or the year before. And next year, I believe, will be more difficult than this year. And if you are already struggling, you are going to struggle more. So do the hard work, do the accountability with someone, create the plan, execute the plan, and encourage each other to keep on going. So I will leave you with the encouragement of I know that it's hard. I know that the market is difficult. It's difficult for realtors. It's difficult for lenders. It's difficult for home buyers and homeowners. It's hard. Hard decisions are being made. The market is out of whack. It's not a normal market. We're back to being a really funky market. It seems like every year there's something different. There's no normal. A year of normal would be great. As my wife Megan has said, like, I'm kind of tired of living in unprecedented times, right? Like, I feel the same way. It's like financial crisis, this thing, and then this thing, and then this other thing happens, and then there's a pandemic, and then it's insane. So it just seems like things are going to continue to be difficult and continue to be a bit chaotic, and that has to be okay. So the only way to get through it is to do the hard work and come out the other end. And my hope is that you are thinking about your business plan now, and that you go through a formal business planning process with your real estate partners. If you're a mortgage lender, doing one-on-ones with all of your referral partners, and talking about what your goals are and how the business is fitting into your lifestyle, and how you're going to help each other, and how you're going to build a fence around your clients to make sure that they don't go elsewhere, and how you're going to go back and re-engage with your past clients to find referrals and to make sure that the house is working for them. Maybe it's not, even if they've got a great 3% interest rate. Maybe that 2-bedroom condo no longer works now that they're expecting their second child, for example. But if you're not involved in their life and having those conversations and checking in with them, then they're going to use someone else. And you don't want that, because you work hard for these relationships. And I hope that you understand the importance of keeping those relationships moving forward. So create those business plans. If you need help with that, don't be afraid to raise your hand. Reach out to me through the By the Bay podcast Instagram, at By the Bay podcast, I think, or is it at By the Bay show? Darn, I should know that, but I think it's at By the Bay podcast. Anyway, or you can go to sequencemortgage.com and reach out to me through our contact form there, or find me on any social. Just Google me, and happy to help you if you need any help or advice, or just a worksheet, or we can do some business planning we'll do a virtual one as well. I can add you to that. So again, not a pitch, not selling anything, just trying to offer some help if you're out there, if you're struggling. And if you're a business leader in a real estate or mortgage office, and you want to talk about doing a live seminar, I'm very experienced with the business planning. I've been doing it for many years, worked on strategy when I worked for a mid-size commercial bank, and understand the dynamics of how to put together a plan, and more importantly, how to create the plan to execute, and finding resources to help people do that and execute on the plan. So I'll leave you with that. I appreciate you being here on By the Bay. Please do follow us on Instagram and YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you find this. And if you have any questions, I would love to help. So please do reach out, and I appreciate you being here on By the Bay.
Stay up to date with Bay Area real estate. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already. Did you enjoy this episode? We love reviews in the Apple Podcasts app. We'll read yours on the show. This is By the Bay.
Lend an Ear Media.